Hello, future millionaires. This is Aztec, and this is the CSC.
Matic Network, get that crypto. It's not hard, it's so simple. Matic Network, Matic Network, Matic Network.
There's a lot going on right now. A lot. I think there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear. But I do want to say, person to person, we will get past this. There has been many things in history that has put a heavy foot on the neck of humanity, but we've always gotten past it. And I don't think that COVID-19 is the straw to break humanity's back. Maybe the old world, maybe this is a transition phase or the death of the old world financial system, the economy, possibly, but not for humanity. I think we will survive. I see so many people firsthand in the hospitals that are surviving this virus. So I really see that we will get past this. So today I want to talk about, where we are in general, with these markets. And of course I want to talk about Matic because they're building in the midst of all of this turmoil. They're continuing to head forward into the storm, guns blazing. They've had so many partnerships and made so many big moves. So we're going to be talking about some of the moves that they've made recently after I talk about the markets. But there's a lot of positivity behind the dark clouds, guys. There's a sun behind the dark clouds. So today we can go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin. We know that we bounced relatively hard here, which was amazing to see because it shows that there is still strength in the crypto world. Bitcoin still has a lot of strength amidst all of the fear, the uncertainty. Bitcoin still has the strength to bounce. Where if we compare this to the Dow Jones, which is kind of my main staple because I'm here in the US. I mean, Dow Jones really has not effectively bounced. We haven't even tested the 21 moving average in days. It's been over a week here, almost 2 weeks effectively since we've even tested a moving average. And if we go back to Bitcoin here, you can see that we bounced and we actually effectively touched the 21 here, the Scion moving average, and we bounced hard. So there's that. But overall, I think that things don't look great, technically speaking. I think that no matter what, even if we do fall off a cliff here, we're going to bounce hard. That's my personal opinion. I think that because we can see that we bounced here very hard, and overall, fundamentally speaking, there's been so much that has happened recently to truly warrant the bullishness behind these technologies. The old world is dying, the old financial system is dying, but the new world is coming through. Web 3.0, the Internet of Money, DeFi and gaming, and all of these buzzwords that I can throw at you. They're all booming. They're all making a lightning speed moves at this time through all of this decay of the old world. So it's very interesting because I personally see that with all of the things, regulation and all of the positive things going for Bitcoin and the crypto world, even if we do fall, I think that there will be a lot of people looking to scoop up crypto at cheaper prices. So we will probably get a very heavy bounce. So, overall, technically speaking, what I was referring to is, we already crossed over in our EMAs, crossed under, on the daily chart. The RSI is basically kind of just in a no man's land right now, but definitely kind of closer to a bearish control zone. The MACD shows some positivity here, some buying pressure, but you can see that, we it's basically based off this bounce here. But we did get rejected off of the 21 EMA here, which kind of shows that there's definitely some heavy resistance in this area in general, but also that we're not, even though we bounced hard, we're not as strong as we could be. That we're not getting this V-shaped recovery. So it's something to note. Let's pull up a more clean chart. Basically, the MACD does show this buying pressure, but with all the other indicators suggesting that we may be kind of moving into a more bearish kind of area at this point, I think we do get a little bit lower, at least at this point, just because these EMAs are moving down. They've crossed under. RSI is not showing strength. The relative strength index is not showing strength here. MACD is showing buying pressure, but it's because of a bounce, because we retraced very hard. And the Stokes really look like they're just rolling over. Even the price action looks like it's rolling over. The Stokes look like they want to cross under each other and move down, on the daily. So from a price kind of point, you do see that, there's still a little bit more, in my opinion, a little bit more bleeding to be done. So I'm not placing buys here. I would probably look to place buys with Bitcoin, probably around either 5,400. I'd have to assess the market at that point. If it didn't look good at that point, I'd have to say possibly around 35, 3,200. But at this point, I don't really see Bitcoin going necessarily lower than those areas. But of course, we have to reassess the market at those points to kind of see where we're at. And I know we'll probably get that chance. So overall, even the general markets themselves, aren't overly positive. You have this Dow Jones kind of giving us a sense of how we feel here in America. The markets are very bearish right now. This is a waterfall, and everything's just down, showing sell signals all the way down. I think it really comes down to the fact that there's quarantines that are happening on our borders, and the National Guard's moving in. We have possibly even more forced quarantines going to happen in other major cities towards the inner part of the U.S. and food shortages, people waiting in lines, no overly effective way to treat COVID at this time. So overall things look a little bearish, and we do feel that there is a sense that we will probably find lower lows. But on the positive side, coming from like my background in the medical field, there is a lot of different types of medications that are being experimented with, and more supplies are being created. Major companies are starting to create more protective gear, and they're even talking about creating ventilators and kind of filling in the gaps here in the US. So you could see that there is positivity on the horizon, but just not exactly yet. So I guess also another thing that's very positive is that the mortality rate of this virus is relatively low, and more in people that are have pre-existing conditions like lungs disorders or immunocompromised, things like that. So I see a lot of people getting past this. I've seen patients that are elderly that are making it past this. I'm trying to not use the COVID word too much, just because it supposedly is a word that you know is being censored. But anyways, in general, there's we see a lot of positivity here, and definitely on the horizon. So I think that overall markets will have to rebound at some point. There's got to be this point where people are like, "Wow, these are all these assets are extremely undervalued." Essentially in the crypto world, and at some point, even the Dow Jones has to have some type of bounce that's more effective. Where we come up and touch at least a moving average. I would say, at some point, maybe not in this week, but at some point. So, you know, overall markets look bearish in the short term. That is what it is. But we do have Matic really making some moves. They recently partnered with Sapien. I made a video. That was my last video, I believe. And Sapien is basically a social uh, networking type of site, kind of like a cross between a Reddit and a Twitter. And I went over it in the other video, but I do see here that today they actually said that they're going to go ahead and make some site updates, and their rewards engine is going to be receiving overhaul. So essentially, you'll be getting rewards for the content that you make, things like that. You can go ahead and read into this. You can start an account on Sapien, which is what I would recommend. It's actually a really cool site. I think people will start using it more and more, especially with their new guidance with the Matic network, and being on top of Matic now, and their transactions and all of that going to be provided by the Matic network. I think that this type of partnership will push them into the limelight, and they'll be a pretty interesting site to use in the future. I think a lot more people will use them, especially with the rewards and things like that you can get, staking and all the other things. So this is pretty interesting to see. It looks like Sapien's moving quickly to kind of overhaul many things on their site. Matic Network has made a lot of different moves recently. Here they are. They're basically joining up with Binance Chain Alliance to fight COVID-19. They're donating to the Binance charity, and it says our donations will be used to help regions that have been directly affected. Together we'll get through these difficult times. I believe that's true. And it's just awesome to see that the team is making an effort to fight this world nuisance. Matic was recently launched on a new exchange here. This is Gaiotis, and they have a Matic to INR trading pair. So this is awesome to see. I spoke to the team and to the Matic Mitras, and they said that this is a real exchange, and that it's a good exchange. So awesome to see that. Recently, we've also seen Matic start some masterclass, kind of like blockchain engineering classes to help with development, and it's headed up by Arpit Argowal. So it says here, join us for the second session of the Matic Masterclass series, Saturday at 6 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Our blockchain engineer will be delivering a workshop on the topic of Solidity 101, Intro to Ethereum Smart Contracts and Solidity. So it's pretty cool because this is the second class. There's another one that they talked about a while ago. But it looks like Matic is trying to connect and make these workshops to kind of get more people to start learning how to create and develop, so that we can see more dApps and things like that happen. I think there's a lot of ideas out there, and this is really cool to see them come out and help other developers make their ideas come true. They posted about it, the ETH India online recap, which was very successful. And they also partnered with Sandbox. So this is actually a pretty cool partnership to see. Some people are kind of comparing it with Decentraland. I made a video about Decentraland, which is also partnered with Matic, and the transactions and all that are happening because of Matic. But Sandbox is another game here. So if we look at their Twitter, it says the Sandbox is a decentralized gaming platform leveraging non-fungible tokens and blockchain technology to empower creators, artists, and gamers. So it's definitely different than Decentraland, because Decentraland is kind of has its own kind of spin to things, and a lot of Decentraland is already pre-built. It looks like there's a little bit more ability to create within the sandbox, and there's a little bit more customization that you can do within the sandbox. But it is a similar concept of, a decentralized gaming world. So there was this article here, which is actually talking about the partnership. It says Ethereum-based game to enhance user experience with Matic scaling solution. So Matic is scaling this Sandbox project. And in this article, what I thought was very interesting is, this is kind of like a side note to the game, and I do want to go over it with you guys and show you a little bit more about it. So we'll be talking about that. But essentially here it says the Sandbox is the latest example of a blockchain-based VR project that allows its users to purchase a limited supply of virtual land, as Cointelegraph reported in a recent analysis of similar projects. The users of Ethereum-based VR world Decentraland have spent over 1 million on digital land. So that's something to note. Another side note, that getting involved with being able to purchase this NFTs or land on these decentralized worlds can be very lucrative, because there's only so much land, and if you're going to build on top of that land and create business off that land, or build something for fun off that land, there's only so much land. So it's pretty much like all land, even real world land. There's a growing amount of people that's exponentially growing in the world, and there's only a certain amount of land, so land will always have a lot of value. So these kind of it's the very same kind of concept. So digital land should also kind of have that kind of idea when you look at it. But then you have to look at the overall project itself. Is the project look like it has a future? So there's that. The project does, in my opinion, look like it definitely has a future, just to clarify. But it also says here the Sandbox has recently announced its third land pre-sale after its mobile creation game has seen over 40 million downloads. The game has also attracted the attention of the gaming industry veterans. Square Enix, known for releasing the Final Fantasy franchise, the video game giant has invested $2 million in the project. This was the side note that I wanted to talk about. Square Enix. I'm a nerd. I played a lot of video games in my time. Final Fantasy wasn't exactly one that I got heavily into, but I did have friends and family that really loved the franchise. But I know a little bit about Square Enix. I know how successful they are in the gaming world. So to see like a powerhouse of the gaming world outside of crypto come into crypto, invest in a game, I think shows a lot of potential in this project. So this is just a side note that I wanted to bring up that some people aren't talking about. Now, in general, the game here, which you can download, I'm not going to get into the actual functions or actually like showing the game or anything like that, because I don't have the ability to at this point. But the Sandbox game here, it says a Sandbox is a community-driven platform where creators can monetize voxel assets and gaming experiences on the blockchain. So you can see the graphics; they're very like kind of like cube looking, and that's what voxel graphics are, voxel assets. They all look like that. So the key points of the Sandbox show that they have Vox Edit, so you can create and animate voxel art and export it anywhere. Essentially, if you have your NFTs, you can use Vox Edit, which you can download. And when you sign up for Sandbox, they actually send you an email where you can download the editor. There is a marketplace where you can place to sell and collect the best assets. And there's a game maker, so you can make and play any game that you can imagine. So essentially what they're saying is similar to Decentraland. You'll be able to create anything that you can imagine and, create games. I'm sure there'll be other ways to monetize these things, create casinos, etc. So they have their land that you can buy. Their cryptocurrency was called Sand, and they have this fund that says get paid to create and share your amazing voxel creations. So essentially when you create things, you can start a fund and basically sell those things. Kind of talks about some other things. I think this was pretty interesting. I saw that you can actually import your work from Minecraft over. So that's pretty interesting because I know a lot of people that are really big into Minecraft. These are all the partners here that the game has, and you do see the Matic network showing as a partner here. So this is awesome to see. They have a very interesting roadmap. They started back in 2011, so they've been around for a while, or the idea has been around for a while. And it shows here the Sandbox franchise launches on iOS. That was back in May of 2012. So the game has been around for, the idea and the game has been around for a while. But in 2020, it says Q1 of this year, which is pretty much summing up, it says landowners will now be able to utilize their lands to build simple but fulfilling experiences. And in Q2, it says Game Maker's full release. The Game Maker will be released with support for visual scripting, which will enhance or enable the creation of a huge range of different experiences. So there's a lot to come, essentially. And the game looks pretty interesting. You can watch this video here on the overview. You can take a look here. You see Vox Edit here where they're editing an NFT. And then in the real world, or their Sandbox world, the animated version of what you created. And here you can take the asset and sell it, or put it up for sale, buy things. You take the asset that you purchase and put it into their world. These are the portions of land. And then you can explore all of the creations and land. And it does look a lot like Minecraft. So you can gather things within the world. There's treasure, there's animals, you can interact. So I'll go ahead and pause it there. But essentially, there's a lot going on. It's pretty interesting. I'll have to look into it more. I just wanted to bring this up because, there's pretty much all of the main gaming dApps that are out there that are in the crypto world are, or I would say the main gaming worlds are moving to partner with the Matic network, which is very, very interesting to see. Um, so, Matic is definitely making a lot of moves within this crazy time. I think Matic is just basically using all of this time where other projects are fearing and holding back. Matic is just blazing forward and essentially passing the competition in many ways. So it's awesome to see it. Yeah, overall, things do look kind of bearish. You can see that a lot of these markets, these are futures markets that are, actually, these are all pretty much closed. But, a lot of these markets from around the world, these futures markets closed down. So overall, markets do seem to show a lot of bearish sentiment. Even today, when the Dow opened today, just gapped down pretty heavily and moved down to about a low 1800 for the Dow Jones. So I think there's a lot of bear sentiment, but at some point we do have to rebound. We have to assess at that point. Bitcoin. We take a look now. I think it's just kind of ranging in this area at this point, right here. But we did get a rejection here, and indicators do look a little bearish. So I could definitely see Bitcoin around 5,400 next time I make a video. At least hitting that point at some point between now and when I make another video. Lower than that, we'd have to reassess once we get down that far, if we get down that far. But anyways, guys, the future is still very bright, and I don't think that we should give up on the future of money. Definitely not. I think the end of this year will definitely show us a lot. I think we'll get past all of this by the middle-ish of this year, and the end of the year will finish very strong. I think for crypto, at least for crypto. So anyways, never give up on the future of money. Tell me what you think, guys. Tell me if you are bullish on crypto overall still, or if you are losing hope, losing faith. I'm looking for lower lows. I would love that just from a personal point, because I would love to scoop up crypto cheap. And I know a lot of people that are. I know some very big people in the space that are looking to sell their homes just to buy this potential dip or cheap crypto. I mean, $5,000, $6,000 Bitcoin is extremely cheap, extremely cheap. But anyways, today was my only day off. I'm extremely tired. You can probably tell I've been working a lot in the hospital, first responder to all of this. So I'm tired, and I wish you all the best. I wish you guys safety and to be able to make great moves at this time so that you come out of this even more financially strong and healthy and a stronger person in general. So I wish you guys the best. Never give up on the future of money.